Good morning, everyone. Welcome to DNP Unlocked, episode 26. We'll talk about becoming a travel nurse. Good morning, travel nurse hacker.
Good morning, Dr. Nurse Paul. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everyone watching us around the globe. And thank you for joining us again in this Sunday morning topic about travel nursing. It's something that I love the most, and I'm
Uh-huh.
very happy to share information. It's the career path that I chose for the past 17 years.
It's a financially rewarding, and not only that, it's just like anything else. You make the most out of it, right? For me, it was a very rewarding experience. My time doing travel nursing, and perhaps with you for 18 years, Kay.
Contract nurse for almost my entire US stay has been a
All right.
contract. So that's coming up, yeah, 18 years I've been a contract nurse. So if people are asking me, how do you know contracts too much? I'm like, I'm kind of reading contract every 3 months of my life and signing my life.
Right. Right.
It's a very it's not a very well talked before when I joined, so there's not a lot of information, but thankful now for all the social media we have that we can exchange information very quick.
Right. And well, welcome to our audience today, Kay. It's Sunday morning again. This is our Sunday breakfast every
Yeah.
Sunday for the last 26 weeks. And thank you, Kay, for joining me today. Unfortunately, Anna could not join us today. She has some important things to do. She's working on her thesis for her master's. So, Anna, we'll see you next week. And good
Yeah.
luck.
Yes, finish it up. Finish it up.
I know that, but I remember doing my thesis more than 10 years ago. So I know it's a little brutal. So it's different when you do MSN here because you don't do a thesis, you do a capstone project. But in the Philippines, the MAN is thesis based. So you have to work on a thesis, write a thesis, defend that thesis before you could graduate.
Yeah, it's a very good journey, and I'm pretty sure Anna is finishing up her master's. It has a direct relationship what she did in her traveling nurse career as well.
For
So a
real.
lot of are doing it for financially to support something that we're gonna do later on, and this is a very good example.
Right. And welcome to our listeners and viewers. Can you guys please use the comment section? Tell us, guys, where you're coming from. Today is a very exciting day because we're going to share a travel nursing experience. Kay has more experience than me. So, we're also going to be able to answer questions today about travel nursing. So, join us in the comment section. We'll be answering you guys live. We have Evelyn joining us from Pasig City, Philippines.
Hi, Evelyn. Good evening. This is Pasig City. It's my neighbor in the Philippines, not too far.
Right, right. I'm not too far. I'm like 1 to 2 hours away from Fairview, Kansas City. Jenna is watching from California as well as Cyrus. Where in California?
Yeah, California is very big, and the thing is, a lot of travel nurses are going to California. That's a very,
Mm.
thing that we need to learn why.
I
Why?
think we need to make California a template state for nursing. You know what I mean? I still have
Yeah.
active license in California, but to be honest with you, I haven't tried practicing in California yet. I'd be so interested, but I got my license when I'm already an NP, so I'm on the fence. Hello to Gerlin. Gerlin is joining us from Tennessee. Jinalyn is from Qatar. And Alice, hello Alice. Alice was my student from the NCLEX. She already passed the NCLEX class last year. So Alice, come over here. We need more nurses, and you'll learn a lot about travel nursing today. Maybe this is something you'll do after you finish your contract. Jana is from Fairfield, 45 minutes away from San Francisco, and Jess said she wants to be a travel nurse too. So we'll talk about that today.
Yes. Hello. Students from NCLEX, right? They're around the globe,
Yes,
right?
they
Right?
are around the globe. Yeah, I think Alice. Alice, where are you from? You tell us. She's from the African continent. which is, by the way, very, very big. But yeah, I have students in more than 40 countries, Kay, with 40 nationalities and 40 different cultures and languages. So, which is good because that was just my dream before. But now it could, I could teach without having to be physically present there, thanks to Zoom and the technology and the power of virtual meetings, just like what we're doing right now.
Yeah. Alice says she's from Kenya.
Yes, Alice is from Kenya.
All the way from
Congratulations
Kenya.
again.
Kind of amazing how
Yep.
connective, how much connection that we can do right now compared to many years back ago.
Right, right. And it was the pandemic, while it affected many people, it also, brought out the best from us. We've realized that, yes, we may be isolated or stuff like that. There's not a lot of travel going on because of the pandemic, but we can still remain connected. And that's how, the power of virtual meetings came about. Everybody started doing podcasts and all that. And that is how we also got to start this. Now we are able to reach nurses from all over the world wanting to come to the US and want to learn about travel nursing. Can you imagine that, Kay?
Yes, this is a very good topic, and stick along. We're gonna
Hmm.
start our topics one by one. Paul and I will give you insights from Paul's
Hmm.
side and my side on, we've been doing this for many years, and we can definitely guide you the best here.
Yep.
All
All
right.
right.
So,
I think let's start. Hi, Riza. Riza said she passed the NCLEX. Wow,
yay!
congratulations. I think I
Congratulations,
just
Risa.
think I
Yay!
just coached you a few days ago or something. But okay, before my students take the exam, I do solo coaching. So I just, call them for 5, 10 minutes, give them encouragement. For me, which is important because I want them to feel that we're there for them all the way until the end. But thank you, Riza. But Kay, let's start our talk for today. What is travel nursing?
Okay, travel nursing. So, Um, for me, it's a contract nursing, travel nursing, contract nursing, internal travel, local travel. They all fall under the category of a contractual nurse. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
it means that you have a start date and an end date. Compared to a full-time staff, your job employment is until whenever you want it. Okay, so again, travel nursing does not only imply that you are a nurse from Chicago going to California. No, travel nursing applies internationally too, because majority of the international travelers are also with a contract with longer terms, like 3 years, compared to the common domestic 3 months, because the cost that come with it to bring you there is higher as an international nurse. So even if you're
Mm-hmm.
an international nurse coming to the United States, you're still under the umbrella of a contractual nurse. Okay. So travel nursing in the United States is very common, in a sense that you are from one state going to another state. Okay. And you will have 3 months contract. You are going to be employed by most likely a staffing company who supplies temporary nurses in that place. So now when it comes to local travel, this is a little tricky because a lot of people did not realize that local travel existed, and they thought that traveling only applies if you go out of state. So for me, local travel is when you don't duplicate your housing, which means you are going home to your own house and then you're working in a facility near your place. Um, but all of your income there is taxable compared to a real travel far out of the state, or you have to duplicate your housing, which means you have a home here, let's say in Chicago, and then you have to rent or stay in a hotel in a different location. So travel nursing is like that. But in the eyes of IRS, travel nursing is only for people who duplicate expenses. So you have two insights there. Are you talking about who's talking? If the IRS is talking, then travel means that you are duplicating your housing. If the nurse is talking, then it's just a matter of question is, are you staying in your home? Are you going far out, or are you under contract? So those are the things. But again, for me, travel nursing is very synonymous to contract nurse.
Right, right.
Period. That's how it
And
is. How about you, Paul?
yep, and I've had nurses in UK, and I've heard they also have agency nurses set up there. So I think it's very similar. You're right. travel nursing has become a loose term to actually define or similarly define what contract nurses would be or agency nurses are. So, in short, any nurse that are not full time but are getting paid more is now being considered travel nursing. Before, travel nursing is like, you move out of your city, you travel probably perhaps 50, 60 miles away, not a hard rule, but there are agencies with those rules before, and you work in a certain city, you live there for a bit, you come back to your own city, you duplicate your expenses because you pay your own house from your residence, and you pay lodging, or the agency pays lodging to your assignment. So it's basically moving around, and for many people, we still do this, right? During my travel nursing career, I worked in Chicago, I worked in Hawaii, but my residence is in Houston, if that makes sense. So that's one form of travel nursing, but there's also local travel, like what Kay is saying, like you're in the hospital in your own city, but you're an agency nurse. So definitely you get paid more, but the caveat is you do not get the benefits like your insurance and stuff like that. So you got to be self-insured. You're probably not covered by the workman's comp. You're probably covered by the workman's comp of the agency who hired you, but not the hospital. So it all boils down to what travel nursing would mean for you financially, but also look at the other side. Does this make sense in terms of benefits? Am I covered by insurance? Am I covered by workman's compensation? Is it worth it, Kate, to travel 3 hours away, get the work done, stay there for 3 days, pay a hotel, and then go back to my city for 4 days and then do it again? And also the impact to your taxes. Kay mentioned IRS earlier. International Revenue Service is our federal bureau for taxation. So they're very particular when they see that you're earning more than the usual nurse in an area or in a state. They use an algorithm first. If the algorithm flags you, there will be manual flagging by a human auditor. So that would start the auditing process, kind of like that. So if nurses make, for example, in Houston, Texas, 80 to 100,000, and you're suddenly making 200 to 300,000, they would probably want to check that out. IRS is like, oh, looks cute in your IRS form. Let's see what's going on, right?
Yeah,
And this guy.
yeah, sudden increase or sudden
So
drop of your income, like
drop, yes.
tremendously, that can be yeah, you can be flagged for that.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Humans will look.
I'd
Yeah.
like to also add, Paul, a lot of people think like that this is only for nurses. Well, travel
Mm-hmm.
nursing is not only travel nursing, there's also travel surgical technician, there's also travel respiratory therapist, travel radiologist, doctors travel, but they call it locum. Okay,
Yeah, locums.
nurse practitioner travel also, and they call it locum.
Locums,
Nurse
yeah.
anesthetist also travel, and they call it locum. But is it the same concept? So my answer is yes. Okay.
Yes.
So the concept is similar, but the difference of the doctors and the CRNAs, sometimes they only cover like shorter term. It can be just a weekend, it can be 1 week, it can be 2 weeks, or sometimes they can be there also 6 months. For a long time, they just extend the contract. Depends on the hospital need. But for travel nurses, majority of RNs that who travel, the usual contract is 13 weeks. But I've also signed up in contracts where it's only 8 weeks, because
Right.
somebody just went on vacation and they need to fill that spot. The staff went on to medical leave for 8 weeks. So they needed somebody to cover for 8 weeks. So then I signed up for that job for eight
Right.
weeks. Okay. So again, it's all about just being a contract. There's a date and there's a start date and there's an end date. So that's how travel nursing works, and you can go to different places. It can be 1 hour away from you, it can be 2 hours away from you, it can be supposedly 45 minutes, right? But since it's
Mm-hmm.
if you're in LA, that,
Mm-hmm.
let's say, that 20 miles will take you 2 hours, right?
Right,
so
right, right.
so again, even if you will, let's say, if you work 12-hour shift a day, and the location is less than 50 miles, a lot of people saying, hey, there's this 50 miles rule. Okay, so that 50-mile rule does not it's not in the IRS books. Okay, so but the IRS books will say there that you travel far enough that you will need to
To double
accommodate to use
expense.
a yes accommodation, because it's not safe for you to perform your duty the next day because of shortened rest. Okay, so IRS wants to make sure that you're resting appropriately for the next shift. For example, for that is, again, if you live in LA and it takes you 1.5 hours to go to the next to the hospital, right? And your shift is 12 hours plus 30 minutes break. So technically traveling 3 hours back and forth plus 12 and a half will get you to 15 and a half hours, right? So if there's 24 hours of in a day, I mean, you barely have time to sleep and rest. So then you will have to use or rent a location in LA that will give you an accommodation to stay overnight. So that is, even if it's less than 50 miles in the IRS book. So I'm not an IRS person, but this is all in their publication. These are public information that you can look up. Yes, the IRS will honor that because you need to rest, okay? So
Mm-hmm.
again, you have to talk to your tax professionals, but again, it's on public information, okay? So even if that is 1.5 hour, it's still considered travel nursing, okay? So
Right.
yeah, so there's a lot
And
of misconception with that. 50 miles, 50 miles.
yeah,
That is
it's a
actually
hard
just,
not
yeah,
not yeah.
it's not
It's
in
not
the
it's
IRS.
not it's not a hard rule, correct? But
No,
the regulations are there just as long as you need lodging and you need to double expenses, stuff like that. Talk to your tax preparer and get an
yes,
audit insurance when you do your taxes. Get an audit insurance. I usually add like $50 or $100 a year for that, K, just so in case there's an audit, they would take care of it. You know what I mean? So, some tax preparers offer that, so they also have insurance for that.
yes.
Um,
All right.
but yeah,
What's our next topic? What was the next banner there?
yep. And let's see. Our next thing that we need to talk about is what is the difference of travel nursing versus local contractor versus internal travel versus a foreign traveler or an international graduate nurse traveler.
So, like I mentioned earlier, travel nursing, when you say that just plain travel, a lot of the conception there is you're from one state going to another state. Okay. A local contractor, you can be um within that similar area city. Like when I was working in Boston, I stayed there for more than 1 year, and I was just doing local travel contracts because there's so many hospitals that are hiring 3 weeks, I mean 3 months contract. So the big difference between a real travel and a local contractor is really the taxation of your paycheck. Because in travel nursing, like real far travel nursing from one state to another, you will be given a per diem, a tax-free per diem for your housing. So those per diem housing are tax-free. Okay, so it's very impactful if your salary is like, on the middle income. If your salary will be like less than 100,000, that tax-free income, the percentage is very high. It can impact like 30% of your income. Surgical tech, sometimes it impacts them 50% of their income is tax-free because the ratio of the housing cost to their income is high. No. But for like high earners, does it matter if you have, does it impact you if you have like ha free housing? My answer, if you're a high earner, like a CRNA, a nurse practitioner who's traveling, is not really that much impactful because the bulk of your income is still taxable. So let's say your housing is only 1,000, but then you're earning 5,000. Since it's less than 25% of your income is tax free, but it's not going to hurt. It's still good. Having a tax free income is good, right? But again, is it as impactful as those like people who's earning like within around $2,000 per week? Yes, it can be impactful if your housing is 1,000. So yes, right. So local contractor, again, your full income is taxable. Full income is taxable. The internal travel, the difference of that between a local contractor and internal traveler is you're a local contractor and all your benefits are coming from a staffing agency. But when you're an internal traveler, your benefits are coming from that facility. So it's like you're a staff nurse, but it's just you have like a start day and end date, and you don't get full benefits. I have seen a lot of internal travel contracts that offers the same health benefits, but they don't offer like 401ks like the full-time
Mm-hmm.
staff. They don't have educational tuition reimbursement like that. Now, when it comes to foreign nurse travelers or foreign nurse contractors, this can be nurses who also have 3 years contract, but it can be extended. Okay, so the difference of that, this is a very, very, I would say, Paul, like, uh kind of like controversial, because
Mm-hmm.
foreign travel nurses have breach of contract fees. Okay, so that's very big difference there. Foreign
Right.
travel nurses will come here on a longer term of 2 to 3 years or 5,000 hours in the contract, and then their benefits will include like their airfare coming here, their housing allowance, their reimbursement for all the exams and immigration, so it can be all possible. So we're talking about a foreign travel nurse whose agency is spending more than 15,000 to bring you here. So of course, then it will come with a longer term that you have to stay. But the problem with that is only among all this thing, travel nurse, local contract, internal travel, foreign travelers have the only contract that has a termination fee that can be so much money. You're talking about 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 breach fees. And I've also seen more than 100,000, 200,000 dollars,
150,000. Yep.
400,000 breach fees.
These are real story. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so again, this is very controversial because among all the three, a travel nurse might have some breach fee if they cut their contract, like, being there only for a week or they didn't finish the 3 months, but they have to pay like $1,000 or $2,000. Okay. But
Yeah.
when a foreign travel nurse quits, they pay something way more than the actual cost. So very controversial topic, but again, this is the difference of that, of those four. Paul,
Right.
you want to say something?
Yes. To be honest with you, so you've defined it very, very well. I did travel nursing, went to Chicago, Hawaii. I did local travel as well, worked in Houston, 5 different hospitals. Internal travel is pretty much the same. So it's all about check how much you're getting paid because you're getting paid the same almost. But with travel nursing, where you're actually traveling outside your city to another city or another place, you get more stipends. Stipends are for lodging, meals, incidentals that are not taxable. So for some people, it makes sense because portion of their income is not taxable, and who doesn't like a non-taxable income? But then again, if the IRS says, "Hello, my old friend, I want to know about the non-taxable," because we still see it. Where did you spend it? Did you actually pay for lodging? Did you actually pay for meals? We just want to know, because if not, then we're gonna make it taxable. So again, taxable, non taxable classification is a theory of whoever is giving you the money. It all boils down to your individual situation, right? So when you have non-taxable money, it all boils down to, did you actually have a lodging that you can prove to the IRS that you paid for? Because that what constitutes a non-taxable income. If you could not find a lodging that you actually paid for, you could not prove it, you actually lived in your friend for free. Then if you cannot prove that, then the IRS says, you know what? It's actually taxable because you did not spend anything. So with local travel, you said you get all the money. That is correct. So for example, I did local travel in Houston and I was getting paid 100 an hour, 125 an hour at one point. I get all of those. I get taxed for all of those. So probably get 60%, 65% out of pocket. I'm sorry, net income per hour, right? Because the others go to taxes, like you said. And for some people, they don't like it because it goes to taxes. But I also manage a business, so for me, I'd rather pay the taxes now all right, and overpay, then have to worry about it come April, which is, tax season is about to close very, very soon. So you want to extend if you're not sure. But that's it for me. I'd rather deal with it now. You take whatever you can get so I can budget with my net. Then we're having to worry about it later. But every tax situation is individualized. Some people prefer to pay later than now. It's really up to you, but it all boils down to what works for you financially, personally, because people jump into travel nursing for financial. The other thing is, I want to highlight the last part, the foreign travelers, right? For me, I've been an admin for Lefora. Okay, this is where we help nurses, Filipino nurses. It's like a good resource community Facebook group. Um, and we now have 220,000 members, right? And that is where our advocacies are actually rooted on. But for me, Kay, I'll be honest with you, I've been an admin there for more than 5 years. I've seen a lot of horror stories, people messaging me, people posting in the group. I do not advise foreign travelers, foreign nurses coming here to the US that your first job become a travel nurse assignment. Why? Travel nursing, the expectations for you are this very, very high. I've been a travel nurse and my orientation is 4 hours. Probably I'd be lucky if I do a 12-hour orientation, one full day. All right. But to be honest with you, I've worked here in ER for a bit. So wherever you put me, as long my only question is where's the policy? So I can always refer to it because each, certain things are variations of just different things. Maybe their blood transfusion policy is just a little different. Maybe their escalation process, maybe their we're ER, so we always have court orders for involuntary admissions. Maybe it's just a little different, but the policies remain the same because it follows the template of the national patient safety goals, especially in the ER environment where it's crazy, where you can get psych or OB or peds all the time, right? So it's never the same, but it's only a small variation, which means I'm confident enough with my skills that if you put me to a place today, 4 hours might even be too long for me because I'm already practicing like as an independent nurse. So if I have a preceptor that's looking at everything that I do, that kind of like gets me sometimes, But for me, I'm confident with my skills, right? You put me on a trauma, you put me in OB, you put me on a pediatric, a neonate, a NICU patient that's in the ER, a psych patient. I know how to get the ball rolling. So one day of orientation is enough for me. Put that in the perspective of a foreign graduate nurse, which I was 7 years ago, okay? And you were also several years back. Um, I could not imagine myself coming from a small town, Philippines, right? We don't have all these cool technology. I don't know how to use EMR, and EMR is different. Even that, we take that into consideration when we look for travel assignments. I always say, what's the EMR? Because if it's Epic or Cerner, I could do that. Meditech, I could do that, but I would never do that because it confuses me. And for me, EMR is important. It gives me an overview of what's going on with the patient, what the other shift did. If I couldn't find the information, that's a red flag for me. In short, I'm also picky with EMR. So I could not imagine myself coming into the US for the first time, does not know how to drive in the freeway to get to work, right? Does not know who to ask questions to when I have issues with my apartment, right? And then going to work and seeing all these rapid infusers, right? Level 1 infusers for blood, or all these A lines and machines that I need to set up to check the patient's vitals. This cool EKG machine, this IV pump that connects to the computer, all the scannings, all the learnings for the EMR. Where do I document this? Who do I call? Where do I escalate? What's the number of the doctor? What's the number of pharmacy? Where do I get the medications? How to send the labs, right? That is overwhelming for me and overstimulating. Now, put that into perspective of traveling. You're a foreign grad, you're new in the US, you're getting accustomed to, you don't want to get legally liable and sued on your first day because you killed a patient or you made a fatal mistake that they report you to the board and now you cannot practice as a nurse, right? So you're very overly cautious, of course. But then you only get one day of orientation. And then the next day you don't have a preceptor anymore. And people some people give you a pushback because you're a travel nurse, because their expectations are you are here to help us with shortage. You're not supposed to ask us what to do. we're not supposed to follow you and check everything that you're doing because you're only here for 8 weeks or 13 weeks. You're getting paid more than me. Some of the nurses are like that. Or I'm getting paid 30, you're getting paid 90 an hour. Well, you should be doing more. Welcome to America. So people are very good with freedom of speech. And I mean, if you look at it, they may be right as well. You're billed as a foreign nurse, which means your agency might have played tricks on you. They're paying you as an local nurse, average nurse, average salary for that area, but they're billing the company, the hospital, with a travel nurse billing. All right, so
Yeah,
be careful with
I've
this.
I've heard of that. I've heard of this, Paul, and I'm like,
Oh
I
my God, this actually happened real
yeah,
life. Okay,
real life, and
so
they
many
got
nurses, yes,
terminated. Yeah, they said, oh, they only gave me 1 day or 2 days orientation, and because I wasn't catching up, they terminated me. Now I have to pay
yes,
$30,000 breach fee. I'm like,
yeah,
well, what did they sell you? Did it? No, they told me I was a traveling nurse, and I'm like, no, you're not. You're a foreign nurse international, and your contract is 3 years. So again, please be careful, international nurses coming here to the United States.
yes,
When you start here and you've only received 1, 2, 3 days orientation, 4 days orientation, please ask your managers in that facility, am I a traveling nurse being hired here? Because you're the number one sign there, if you're being sold as a traveling nurse, is the orientation dates are shorter. You will sign up a lot of health streams or module training modules before arrival.
uh-huh,
Number three is your recruiter who's or agency is telling you that you're signing up every 3 months. So if your
mm-hmm,
facility manager is telling you we're gonna extend you every 3 months or 2 months, that is a sign that probably you're being sold as a traveling nurse, which is should not be, because it's a different expectation when you are a traveling nurse, like Paul said.
right,
They want you to function as quick as possible. And there might be fraud that is happening there, because if
right, right,
facilities is extending your contract every 3 months and your agency did not tell you that you're a staffing, didn't tell you that you're a traveling nurse, and you get you get terminated because you're not up to the par of the expectation, then there might be a question there. Are you being sold ethically as a foreign nurse, or are you being sold as a local travel nurse, a domestic travel nurse? So again, the hospital might be being billed excessively, and the agency's pocketing all of this. So we have heard of this. This is a true story. We didn't make
these
this
are,
up. we
mm-hmm,
we we
true
caught
story.
yeah
The
caught
internet is our witness. We don't lie about this. It's like I said, we could not name people. I hope we could, right? But we can't because it's their private confidential information. But these information were shared to us. So if the USCIS and NBC wants to work with us, we sure contact us. But
yeah, but
yes, these are true stories, Kay. And I feel bad for these people that are caught into this, that are not aware of the different structures or different models of delivering nursing care and being employed as a nurse here in the US. So my advice is, if you are a foreign grad, you feel like, okay, Paul keeps sharing how much they make as a travel nurse or how much they made as a travel nurse. Well, what I say is, take it slowly but surely. Nursing is something that you want to keep doing for a long time, because that's what you're going to the US for. You want to preserve that license. You don't want to come over here, get 1 day orientation, and then make a mistake 5 weeks later, and you get reported to the board and you can no longer practice as a nurse. That kind of defeats all the process that you had to go through just to get here, and then you end up not being able to work. Or let's say you're overly cautious, you're not you did not commit a malpractice, but then I've heard nurses where after 13 weeks the contract is done, hospital said, we don't want this nurse anymore. They probably think that you're not at par with their expectation for a travel nurse, and no more contract. All right. I've heard nurses that had to wait 2, 4, 8 weeks in between contract because agency tied them up. Agency said, you cannot leave because if you breach your contract with us, you're gonna pay 150,000. But guess what? nobody also wants to hire you because this health system with 20 hospitals, they don't want to hire you anymore. You're in a no hire list, do not hire list, right? Or something like that. So now my concern is what's gonna happen in 8 weeks is gonna pay your bills, right? Unlike if you come in here as full time, uh, you have work every week and you earn money, there's regular paycheck that comes in, you will not be out of job after 8 to 13 weeks. Plus with full-time jobs, you also get orientation proper way, all right, because they're onboarding you as their own nurse. So what am I saying? Am I telling you guys to not be a travel nurse? No, get your feet wet, know everything about your specialty, um all the protocols that you guys do. Each of us from each different departments would have our own different thing. Like for example, I'm an ER nurse. I've been offered med surge or ICU, and they said, no, you're ER nurse, you're flexible, you can't do that. Not at the expense of my license, all right? I can't do ICU and med surge. Can I could learn it, yes, but no, I don't have time to learn that in one day, all right? So something like that. So do not jump into travel nursing right away because you see Kay is making this much amount of money, and we're posting how to compute your money and what comes out to your savings. Get your feet wet, get accustomed to the American system, healthcare system, your protocols, your national patient safety goals, your core measures, so you don't get sued and you're following policies all the time. And then when you're confident with your skills, and also if you finish your contract, because I don't want you to breach and pay for it, I'm not advising you to breach and not pay for your thing. You signed a contract, and then you can travel nurse. All right. So weigh that. But for people that are already here, travel nursing, okay, for me, is very lucrative. So if your individual situation permits you to do it and you're so curious, you know what? Why don't you just try it? I told my friend one time, should I? She said, should I quit my job, my full time job? I've been here for a bit and do travel nursing. I was like, you know what? You've asked me this 4 times already. All right. I know you're very curious. Why don't you give it a try? Go take a leave from the hospital, probably file an FMLA or something. Try it for 8 weeks. If it's for you, it's for you. If not, you always can go back to your main job. But I'm a person who is, I don't wanna go 5, 10 years down the line and regret, oh my God, I never tried travel nursing, you know? But try it if your individual situation permits you. I know some people couldn't do it because of their family's gay, and they could not be moving interstate or flying every 4 days because they have kids. So if your individual
I've
situation
done it
permits you,
all.
right,
I was a single
there you
mom and I
go.
started my travel nursing. It works. You just have to do strategize it.
Yeah,
It works for me as a single person. I was able to work it out as a single mom before. I was able to work it out as a now with a family. There's a lot of things that you can do. I was able to work it out as a single earner for family members. I mean, a single household income. So there's a lot of ways that you can do it depending on your situation. If you're taking care of somebody who's sick, you have a dependent, there are ways also that you can do it, depending on your what is your originating location. So that's the
right,
key important there is where are you coming from and where are you going to. So
right,
for you to assess if this is for you, you have to think about those goals. Okay, so which
right,
one are you going to use? Do you really need to go far? Initially, I was doing the travel nursing, the far distance. Then I realized, wait a minute, I'm actually from a state that has high pay, New York,
right,
New York
right.
City. I'm like, and there's so many jobs here. Then I can just stay local. I didn't have to travel far, right? And
That
then
is correct.
eventually, when a lot of the hospitals are now starting to do internal traveler, I look into that as well. Oh, internal traveler actually will keep you there in that one location. I like this hospital, but I have a spouse who carries all the benefits for us. Why do I need to duplicate my benefits? No, can I just be an internal traveler because I don't need benefits? But I want
Right,
to stay here, but I just don't want benefits. I just want increased pay. So internal travel works like that. Okay,
right.
but again, if let's say you're from Philippines coming to the United States, that is coming to the United States,
Mm-mm.
worth it financially? Absolutely, because you're coming from a country of low paying country going to high paying
Mm-hmm.
country. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but again, you have to assess your originating country and your destination place, where you
Yep.
go.
So for me, it's not for new immigrants. Get your feet wet first. Learn how to drive the freeways or something like that. But for us that have been here for years, try travel nursing. I loved it. I loved my experience. That's also one way for you to try. I want to move to Chicago. Well, don't move yet. Get a travel nurse assignment in Chicago. Try it. If it's for you, then you end up staying and you get the money. But if not, then you can just go back or find another travel contract. That way you don't have to like permanently reside somewhere. Travel nursing might be that. And for me, Kay, it's more than the money, it's also the experience. So anyway, the next question that I have, Kay, is what was the problem that made you decide to choose travel nursing?
Okay, for me, I wasn't, I started doing this in 2008. That I set my foot in travel nursing. I just heard it one time and I just like look into the internet what it is, and I said I didn't see any more information. That was 2008, 2009. I didn't see a lot of information about travel nurses. So but I said my motivation to do it was I want to learn different systems in the United States. I want to gain more experience. So coming from a small community hospital, although it's a level one, it's still we're limited with the cases that we do there. For me, I want to become a professor one day and teach in the university, but I feel like what am I going to teach if I don't know US healthcare system? So that prompted me to do travel nursing because I I think this is the fastest way or fastest route to learn as much things that I can in a very short time. So when I jump into travel nursing, my goal was only to kind of beefed up my resume and do a lot of cases as an OR nurse and to learn different healthcare system. So again, it was experience for me that motivated me. Back then in 2006, 2007, 2008, the pay for travel nursing is not a lot. My first job was 1,600 per week, and you
Per
can
week,
earn
yeah.
this. You can earn this as a local nurse if you're in a high paying location, right? Like New York, California, Chicago, Massachusetts, Boston. Um, you can earn that as a staff, but why did I do it? It's because it's not for money. I did it because of experience. But I still kept my full-time job because I still have my 3 years contract in New York City. But I was only working their weekends. So I did travel initially just to gain experience. I said, oh, this is the pay that I will get after 13 weeks, and actually this can pay for my master's degree, right? So I said just one contract will pay for my master's. Okay, that is great. um, so I did it. I pick up one contract in that year, and then the following year I pick up another contract. And I said this is quite good because it gives me flexibility to travel back to Philippines to visit my family. And I said now then I was seeing the financial and the flexibility of it. So again, initially I started travel nursing because I want to beef up my experience, but then later on it actually became flexibility and financial reasons. So a lot of people do it differently. How about you, Paul?
Yes. So I think Kay need to leave for a bit, and we'll wait for you, Kay. All right, but I'll take over for a minute. But for me, um, what made me choose travel nursing is multifactorial. One, I was ending my contract. I was about to end my contract for my original job. My contract was 3 years, and I stayed and I finished my contract. I didn't have to breach. I was in school anyway, but I was also trying to move to either Dallas or Houston. My top choices are I looked up top 10 big cities in the US, and I looked up all the salaries in those areas. So the reason why I wanted to move to Dallas was because I was still completing my DNP school, the doctorate school at that time. So that's one option for me. So I can move closer to school. And Houston was also one of the choices. I love NASA. And Texas for me at that time was at par with the cost of living and the pay rate. But I was also looking at Chicago and LA and New York City. So I started asking around, started talking to recruiters. One of the reasons why I want to switch to travel nursing is because I was going to move out anyway. I was going to move somewhere. So what my mentor told me, I have this preceptor, is a nurse that precepted me. His name is Larry. Hi, Larry. And Larry is such a very good mentor and coworker. I was here in the US. He was one of the people who supported me. But he said, you know what? Instead of moving to Dallas or Houston, why don't you find a travel nurse job there first? That way you're earning travel nursing, but at the same time, you can get a feel of how the work looks like and if you're confident with it. Because, ERs are different levels as well. Some are higher trauma hospitals, some are lower trauma hospitals, some are non-trauma and more medical, some are more psych than medical. So he said, try to get a feel first, get your travel nursing money, earn money, but at the same time, see what the hospital looks like, which for me was a good idea. So I was like, you know what? I'm sold. I'm sold with it. I'm 3 to 6 months away from finishing my contract. I started talking to recruiters. I asked, 5 recruiters about jobs in Houston, jobs in Dallas, jobs in Chicago, wherever I can practice as a nurse. So that led me to doing travel nursing, and that opened my options, right? Because I already started asking them 6 months before I started travel nursing. So that was my main reason. That's why I decided to travel nurse, is because I'm moving out of the city anyway. The other thing is, I feel like in order for me to get to my financial goals, if you guys have heard before, I talked about in my own show, the FIRE concept, financial independence, retire early, which means, at the peak of your earning career, earn as much money as you can so you can retire early, so you can put them in savings and investments and stuff like that. So I feel like, I have more financial opportunities if I do travel nursing, so I can save faster, so I can get to my financial goals and retire early principal faster. That's why I jumped in travel nursing as well. But at the same time, right? This was December 2019, January 2020. I was already like, about to sign contracts for travel nursing. My contract ends March 2020. And I think you guys know what happened back in January 2020. The states got our first case of COVID, right? And sure enough, my contract was ending on March, and I already told my director, and she already started recruiting. In short, somebody was going to replace my spot. It's a very lucrative work because it's a very in demand spot. My spot in the ER, because it's one of the less busiest ER in the city. So in short, there was already someone being trained to replace my spot at the end of March. And then the pandemic happened, right? So in short, I had to quit the job. I couldn't stay. I was anxious about, should I continue doing travel nursing? It's the pandemic. In short, I moved to Houston to start a local contract. I was actually billed as a travel nurse because I'm not from Houston. And then shortly after that, I started doing contract assignments under the pandemic crisis assignments. So to cut it short, everything is history. I started travel nursing at the start of the pandemic, which was actually, good timing as well, because it was also at that time that they were paying more money. But it was already planned. I was already planning to start travel nursing by April 2020. That was a year prior, all right? So to cut it short, that was what happened to me. That was my main decision of why I did travel nursing. And to give you an idea of what was high earning, for transparency, pay, salary transparency. I love transparency, especially with pay. I know some people are like, we do not discuss pay. All right. But guys, this is the only way we can negotiate better. We need to start discussing pay. I think do not discuss pay. It's unethical. It's a very old concept from people before, but I think we can level the market and playing field and actually get the highest pay to the most competent and able and skilled and prepared person via what's this transparency. So my first pay, when I was still in my full-time nursing job, I was earning 30, 31, 32 with all the differentials per hour, right? That was back in 2018, 2019, 2020. So not a lot of money, but it's a very low cost of living town in Texas. And my part-time job, my PRN, was paying me 45 an hour, something like that, plus bonuses if I do more. And my first travel nursing assignment was paying me 68 an hour. So for me, that's a huge jump from 30 or 40 to 68 an hour. So of course I said yes to that. And then after that pandemic crisis happened, they were mass hiring nurses in Houston, and my first bill rate was 120 an hour during the pandemic. So that moved me faster to my financial goals. That was the reason why I'm doing travel nursing. Now, while waiting for Kay, guys, the comment section is open, so please post your question about travel nursing, okay? And I will be glad to answer that. We have 100+ viewers today. Thank you so much for watching. And Kay will be back very soon. The next thing that we want to talk about to you guys is, let's flash this question. Was there other alternative that you have considered doing aside from traveling? So for me, I was focused on becoming a travel nurse, like I said, because I was moving out of the city anyway. So I'm trying to travel nurse in the city where I'm moving to, and I ended up in Houston, not only because the contract was good, but also Houston was one of the cities I was looking at. It's a big city. It has everything that I need. It has parks that I needed. It has direct flights to Asia if I needed to go home. It has direct flights to Europe. Those are the things that are important to me. There are good schools, there are great hospitals that are hiring nurses, so those are important for me. But there was no other alternative for me at that time. I wanted to do travel nursing. I'm done with my contract. I'm moving out of the city. Travel nursing was my next option. But perhaps if I didn't do travel nursing, I'd probably apply as a full-time nurse in one of the hospitals here in Houston. But like I said, I was dead set with doing travel nursing at that time. Antoinette said, can you do PRN jobs while you are with contract with your agencies? It is agency dependent. All right. Um, During my time, I was allowed by my agency. I asked them. There's no hard rule unless it's stated in your contract, but you are a green card holder, all right? If they're not paying you on your days off, then they do not own your time, period. If they contracted you for 36 to 40 hours, that's what they contracted you for. You still have several hours in a week that you can work PRN, all right? For me, I asked my agency just to be sure, and they said it's okay as long as it doesn't affect your main job. That's the only thing. As long as it doesn't affect your main job, which originally contracted you to work, then I think you can do PRN while you're still contracted with the agency as an international nurse. And here in the States, we do that all the time. Even as I was travel nurse, I still maintained some of my PRN assignments. All right. So, but yeah, going back to the question, what was the other alternative? I didn't have an alternative at that time. I was dead set in doing travel nursing, and that was planned 6 months prior to my start of travel nursing, which happened to be during the pandemic as well. And
I'm
Kay's
back.
back. I don't think we
Okay.
can hear you, Kay.
Oh, can
Turn
you
on
hear
your
me?
audio.
Oh,
Yep. And Jerry, I'm going to answer Jerry's question while Kay's setting up. How
oh,
does onboarding orientation looks like? Length of orientation, competency validation. Good question, Jerry. So
yeah.
with travel nursing, they validate your competencies, do your e-modules prior to the start of the assignment. Because the assignments are usually 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 13 weeks, 26 weeks. All right. So they want you to work on day one. So in short, prior to that, a week prior, they do background checks, competency validations, e-modules that you're gonna do in the local contract that I did here in Texas, K. We have to do 60 modules plus for ER nursing, 60 modules. All right, but good thing is they paid our hours. I was paid 12 hours, so hey, I'm gladly going to do that. That's paid 100 an hour. I'm at home doing the e-modules. And then I left for 6 months and then I came back. They're like, no, you have to do the e-modules again because you left and you're not full-time. So that's totally fine. But the validation, competency validation, background checks, checking your licenses, finishing your competency validations, all that are done prior. And on your day one, that is your orientation. That's it. You probably have a couple of hours. I heard nurses got 2 hours for orientation, 4 hours, 12 hours. And then on that same day, the charge nurse or whoever is assigned to you will sign the competency validation. Can this nurse do blood pressure? Can this nurse operate the level 1 transfuser? Again, it depends on your specialty. In ER, we have sets of competency checks, right? And orientation, like I said, travel nursing is 1 day or less. All right. I've got assignments that I had 3 days. I told the director I don't need 3 days. And they're like, no, for liability purposes, legal compliance, we got to make sure that you got trained there for a week, which is 3 days of work. I was like, okay, fine. I also got trained 2 hours in Chicago. They're like, here's the policy. Here's who you're going to contact. This is where the chargers is at. These are the supplies. Write it down. Write it down. Okay, you're good. Okay, so that's totally fine with me as well. I've had orientation in Hawaii for 12 hours. So I've got one hospital here that, oriented us for 2 days. And then, I was even triaged after the first week, so which usually doesn't happen for travel nurses in the ER. So again, it's facility dependent. Again, do not do travel nursing if you're not confident in your skills. Do not accept travel nursing assignments that you're not confident with. If they're offering you float job means today you're OB, tomorrow you're med surge, next time you're ER. I've had so many people accepted float travel nursing and got assigned in the ER because guess what? Some of the holds, admit holds are in the ER. Could not even do basic stuff like just calling the doctor for medication orders because their patient is screaming, stuff like that. So please do not accept travel nursing assignment if you're not confident that after a day they can let you go, in the sense that you don't need a preceptor and you can do your thing. Hi Kay, are you back?
Can you hear me, guys, now?
I think you have to refresh your screen. Log
Right.
back in again. We don't hear
No,
your audio.
no audio. Okay. I
And
will
I'm
try.
going to answer some questions while waiting for Kay. What is your malpractice insurance for travel nursing? You got to carry your own, Jay. I got my own travel nursing insurance when I was a nurse, basically way before travel nursing. So my insurance is NSO. All right, it's one of the popular providers here, and I think it's my computer. Oh, okay. I think it's my settings. So they said they could hear okay. But anyway, uh, to cut it short, I have my own insurance and I pay 130 an hour. I think guys, can you hear Kay? I think I'm the one who needs to refresh my setting. Can you guys hear Kay?
Oh, hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Let me see. Let me check my moderator.
Can you
Can
hear?
we hear Kay?
Can you?
Okay. So
Hello,
Kay,
hello.
I think I'm the one who needs to exit. I think my internet went down or my speakers went down. But yes, my answer to that is you have to carry your own insurance. I have NSO and I pay 130 a year. 130 a year, all right? What is that for travel nurses? So please don't be stingy. In Filipinos, we call it kuripot. Don't be kuripot. Don't be stingy. There are some things that we need to pay. I call it pay to play, all right? We need to pay because we have to. Insurance is one thing that you don't want to be using, but you need it because you don't know when you're going to need it. That's why it's called insurance, to insure
Yes.
something if it were to happen. That's something that you pay. You don't want to need it. You don't want to use it, but you need it. Okay. So yes, like we said earlier, as travel nurses, you got to carry your own insurance, whether health insurance, malpractice. Okay. Take over. I'm gonna go out for a bit.
Okay, so answering this question, what's the other alternative that you have considered? Again, my main purpose was to gain experience. The alternative that I had before was doing PRN, but PRN will only limit me to the area where I was, and it's not. I know, although we have a lot of hospitals back then, but the PRN will give me like an open time, and I have to be required to go to that specific hospital. Like, let's say you need to do like two shifts every 2 weeks, or one shift every week. So again, the PRN has a requirement for hospitals. It differs. So like, let's say one hospital would say you need to do four shifts or at least 24 hours within 1 month. So I don't like that setup. I did a PRN job initially my job was paying $33 an hour, and then the PRN was paying $40 an hour. So I said it's not really a big jump of salary. So when I look at the travel nurse salary, it was way more. And the main factor there is I am a single person without a lot of tax deductions, and I was working in a high tax taxing city, which is New York City. So we have three layers of taxes there, which is federal, state, and we have the city tax. So for a single person working in a three-layer tax system city, it was very very sad to see my paycheck. So I said travel nursing for me with half of my paycheck being tax free is actually a tax strategy. So then I realized that travel nursing was more impactful than PRN. Okay, but then later on, between local travel, when I started being local travel, was there an alternative for me to do that? Coming from a high paying state, the alternative for me to do was a business. So I started doing business in my local area, which is for events industry. So my For me to be able to find key people actually to recruit for my business, local travel was able to help me do that too. So again, was there alternative in doing this? So if a financial reason, then doing local and you have local business, I think local travel will be a good idea to network to a lot of people who you might be your future clients or your future business partners. So again, this is not like a topic that we usually talk about, but doing the local travel for me was able to build a multi-states business. Okay, so I went to Maryland. I trained people to do my business in Maryland. I went to Connecticut. I trained people to do I found key people that I worked side by side that I've noticed their work ethics was very great. So then I was able to talk to them. Hey, you want to become a business partner? And it just happened like that. New York, I was able to find key people to work with. Boston, so we were able to grow a local business because of the network, and the local travel nursing helped me on that. Again, but if you're planning to do multi-state business again, like sample real estate, then travel nursing can also help, right? To do network. Paul, can you hear me now?
Yes, I do. Yes. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so our next slide in question, so we can go to the next. Oh my God, we've
Yes.
been here
What?
for an hour, but we have a couple
Yeah.
more left, so hang in there.
Yep. What was your goals when you started this journey? And we have a lot of questions. We're gonna answer that in a bit.
Yeah, so we're gonna answer this question real quick because we talked
Real
to you
quick, yes.
already about what we did. So initially,
Hmm.
when I started, I want to gain experience because I want to become a professor. I was taking my nursing education. But then later on, I said, oh, it paid really my tuition fee real quick. The second contract, I want to take this contract so I can pay for my trip to Philippines with my family. And then the third contract, okay, now it can go to my retirement. Fourth contract, it will pay for my student. I mean, not I don't have student loan, but it paid for my consumer debt. And I was moving. I was starting to invest on myself too. So again, I always have a goal every time I pick up a shift. I mean, a contract. So because if you don't start with a goal, you will just you're just chasing money after money without a goal, and at one day you're gonna be burnout. So what was my goal? I always have a short-term goal every contract, and then at the end, I said, "What's my exit plan here?" I said, "I want to retire early." Right? So I said, I put a date time there. 50 years old, I'm gonna retire at this age, and I should have this retirement money at the age of 50. So that's my long-term goal. All right, again, so different goals, different short-term goals per contract, but same long-term goal. I want to retire early. I want to do things that I want to do, on that specific financial goal. So that's
Right.
my goal. How about you, Paul? You mentioned
That's
that earlier.
exactly that's exactly what I said earlier. Retire early too, and I had so many things that I want to achieve quicker, and I know eventually, there could be. For me, it's like I'm at the top of my career as far as physically and mentally. So I want to do it now at the height of my career, at the height of my ability and skills, rather than wait for something to happen and realize, oh my goodness, I didn't get to do it. So if I could do it now and earn more money doing the process, I always say travel nursing is like, I'm doing it anyway. Why don't I get paid more instead? Since I'm doing the same thing anyway, I just had to move to a different state or different hospital, probably different culture, but it's the same flavor of nursing with just a little seasoning on the side. I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna have to deal with traumas. I'm gonna deal with strokes and sepsis and all these stuff. Um, and there's all this workplace drama as well, so might as well get paid for it, while doing it. But at the same time, it pulled me much faster to my financial goals, and just doing 2 years of travel nursing. And thankfully, it's hard to say this because there were many patients who died with COVID, but that was also my saving grace in a sense. I was able to like create build a house for my mom, which I paid in cash. I don't have debts in the Philippines for the house, which is now valued like $300,000, which was a dream. Because we grew up very poor. We were middle class when I was much younger, and then when I was in elementary grade school, my mom and dad both lost their jobs. So literally, I was telling my friends sometimes we would just eat one piece of bread the whole day, and we have to ask our relatives to do it. So for me to do travel nursing and earn so much money and be able to pour that to a house that my mom could live in, that was a dream come true for me. So I feel like I've reached my peak, but then I'm finding another peak, because that's how we are in life, find another peak. You don't want to settle for that peak. There might be more peaks out there. But the point is, it brought me so much faster in my financial game. So I'm also the person where I'm checking my net worth every week. So I was like, looking back from 3 4 years ago to now, I'm like, ooh, I'm thankful that I got to do it, and now I've moved out of nursing. I'm doing NP, and I'm in a much happier state, less physically exhausted. But I'm happy that I did travel nursing. It was one of the best experience in my nursing career because it did not only open the doors for me financially, but also met new nurses all around the country. It's funny because I know someone who knows someone because of travel nursing. It's like a tight little community in the group K that they'll be like, Paul, you know this nurse. I've worked with this nurse. You know what I mean? But kind of like that. So I like that wherever I go, I know someone now. And also, I got to try different flavors of healthcare system, how they do it in Hawaii, how they do it in the Midwest, and some ideas of what they do in the West Coast, East Coast, and here in the South. So that opened my perspective for many things, and also networking. I got a lot of people that I know, doctors, physicians, private practices, and all that because of travel nursing. And I wouldn't have it any other way. In fact, if I was in an NP today, I'd still do it. Okay, to be honest with you, it's fun. I was gunning for California, but then I had to start my NP career because I'm not going to be able to renew my license if I don't practice it. That's a problem with NP. It's not like nurses where I can stay dormant for 3 years and be back as an RN again. It's not like that. So it's a little different.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so everybody has their own goals, and I want you to look at what you want to achieve. And because a lot of people are, a lot of people have given negative feedback about, oh, this is not what I've thought that people were
Thought,
talking
yeah,
about. Because you have to understand that everybody has their own goals. If you're following people because they have different goals than you, then you are setting up yourself for failure.
right, right,
So that's one thing that you have to do. Make your own goal, your own personal goal. And and then run your numbers. If travel nursing it works for you, then it works for you, right? But if
right,
travel nursing does not make sense for you, it will not make sense. Doesn't matter how much money there is.
yeah,
Again, and I always say to people like travel nursing, if financial reason, it always works for people from low paying states or location going to high paying states or location.
yeah,
Again, if you're traveling because of money and you live in Massachusetts and Boston, and then you're going to travel to California, I don't think it's going to make a very big impact in your life financially. Or let's say you're a California person traveling to New York, it's not gonna make a big difference.
hmm,
California nurse traveling to Idaho, that's not gonna work either because you're from high paying state already. You know, locally, you might be able to just do local to cut your taxes. Single people from high paying state, high taxation state, going to travel nursing, that will cut their salary half to tax free. That makes sense. Okay, so those are the things that you will have to assess. Um,
Yes. And
what
K, next is what's your biggest pro and cons of travel nursing?
I know the biggest pro, like we mentioned all the time, we keep on repeating it, financial flexibility, ability to take vacation without asking permission or being declined vacation. You know, you already asked permission 6 months ago for a vacation to see your family back home in the Philippines and or in your own country, and then it gets declined, right? So it's really frustrating because you really work hard for not just because you want to work, but you want to work and eventually get to see your family to reap your hard work and give something to your family. So I think declining people's vacation, especially when it's a very strenuous job, it's burning out job, it's just going to impact morally on these nurses, and it's going to lead to burnout. So for me to avoid that burnout and frustration from the system, um, I just have to take this traveling contract that will give me flexibility. I don't need to wait for people to say, yes, you can go home and see your family. So that's the biggest impact for me. I can take off when I want to, when my kids are on vacation. I can be with them. When my kids need me for Christmas break, I'm there for them.
Right.
And then I did a lot of my travel nursing when I'm younger and when my family are in the younger years, my kids are in the younger years. But right now, my teenager needs me the most to be there for him. So I'd like that flexibility to be there when he needs me. So that's the thing there. That's what the
Yeah.
biggest pro for me is to have time for the people that I love the most.
Yeah. So for me, my pros are two things. I love to travel and I love financial stuff, right? So financially for me, big check because it's like I said, my first travel nursing contract to Houston was paying 67 an hour and I was making 31K. For me, wow, right? That's a big jump in my career, right? From earning 2,500 every 2 weeks to now earning 3,000 a week, right? So whew, so much investments there are ported in stock market and all that. Secondly is I get to experience the city that I want to go to first, like I said earlier. So I went to Chicago for the reason that I don't only go as a travel nurse, but I also want to feel if I really want to move to Chicago. For all of you guys, my favorite American city is not actually Houston, San Francisco, LA. These are all beautiful, New York, but Chicago is actually my favorite, except the snow. If it's summer there, I love it. Spring, I love it. Of winter, no. But I feel like Chicago is my vibe. But there's a reason why I didn't move there because I want a house. I grew up without a big house, so I want a big house. And in Texas is where I can get a big house, but also have an at par, what's the salary that can pay for it. Because I could just buy a big house, okay? And it's all about your numbers. Like I said, if guys at this point in your lives Excel sheet or spreadsheet or Google spreadsheet is still not your best friend and you still don't know how to use the computational super easy equals sub open parenthesis B5 so whatever, I don't know what you're doing. But me and Kay, we love Excel sheets because we run numbers all the time. I actually developed my own app for my own company that's based on Google Sheets, and now it's user friendly where you just plug in the numbers, but it does a computation in the back for you. So I'm also developing my own app. So probably in the future I'll be releasing a calculator. Who knows? Might be a secret. But what I'm saying is run
When
your
is that?
numbers, check your experiences. Huh?
When is that IPO coming, Paul?
I don't want to preclude myself because I'm the person who gets excited when I learn new thing and I try to do something and I end up not pushing through with it if I feel like I don't like it. But anyway, to cut it short, guys, for me it was travel experience and financial. But then again, we're gonna talk about cons, and I want to talk about this. Okay, what's your cons?
I know the cons of it is, of course, it's job security all the time. There's a thing there that for me, everybody was asking me, okay, when's your last day? And my response is, every day is my last day, because they were laughing like, no, no, serious. When is the end of your contract? For me, end of the contract is any day. So that's the
Yeah.
biggest cons of travel nursing. If you're going travel far, of course, it's time away from your family. But this is not very uncommon for foreign nurses. Foreign nurses, also known as, for Filipino OFW, overseas Filipino workers, or if you're an international nurse leaving your country, going to a new country to make money, to bring home to your family and create like a house, right? Being away from home is not very uncommon for, again, international nurses. So this is something that we do for the love of our family. It's very common. So, but that's a cons there. You're being away. So for a lot of my American colleagues, they're not used to those prolonged times that they're away from their families. So it's not something that you always see, that because in the Philippine culture, we leave our kids with our parents sometimes, and it's totally fine and acceptable. But for American culture, it's not that common to do. So for my American colleagues, the biggest cons for them is being away from their families and their kids, and it's not really helpful with their mental health. Again, mental health, being in solidarity, you're by yourself, that's the biggest thing that you will have to overcome is, again, mental health for being far away and being alone. You miss your friends. That's why for me it's very important that when you're being in a travel location, try to do things, keep yourself busy. When I did my first traveling assignment, I was working on my master's degree. So on my time off that I'm there in that location, I'm doing something productive. You can do that. You can entertain yourself like Paul did. He was traveling and exploring the place. That is a great thing to do when you're a traveling
Hmm.
nurse. Adventure, look for adventure when you are there. Okay, you can, if you're single, ready to mingle, right? But I'm not saying,
Woohoo!
right. For me, I was you know I had a relationship on my home area, which was New York that time. For me, it was not feasible to travel to Hawaii because New York was very far to Hawaii, and I have a relationship. Again, if you have relationship and your partner does not consent to a long distance
Long
relationship,
distance. Uh-huh. Been
you
there,
being a
done that.
traveling nurse is not going to be working out well for you. And you don't want to be
Right,
in a
right.
new location by yourself and you're crying because your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your partner just broke up with you because he couldn't stand or she couldn't stand a long-term relationship. Again, for me, that
I'm, I'm not gonna say that that happened to me. Probably, I cannot confirm it. No, but yeah, that's true. That's also one thing I need to consider.
yeah, so if you have family members that are not, good in handling long distance relationship, it's something that you will have to consider because, again, for me, relationship is way more important than money. Your
Right,
money
that
is
is true.
great, but relationship
Certain things
broken
that
is
money
not
can't buy. Yeah, I think I've shared that in
exactly.
my TikTok. Like, uh, priorities, which is not always money. It could be time with your friends and family because you haven't spent much time with them. You're just busy working and trying to earn money. It's not all about money. Money is gonna go away. It's a material thing. It's tangible. You focus on the intangible things in life. So make sure you're balancing everything while you're hustling for money. You're also not losing people beside you. Trust me, been there, done that. I've seen a lot of people got burned down because of their greed. um, I don't want that to happen to me. I want my friends to still be there, stick through me when I need them, and I'll be here for them when they need me as well. So something like that, Kate.
Yeah. The other thing that I've seen common to a lot of travel nurses, even in the later stage, I've seen a lot of them change their lifestyle. It's very tempting to really change your lifestyle with travel nursing money. So, for me, travel nursing makes sense financially if only you will maintain your lifestyle. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna up your lifestyle, it's not any different than your full-time staff income, right?
Right.
So a lot of travel nursing got tempted to, uplift or, put up their lifestyle. I've seen a lot. I'm not gonna question your priorities in life, but I'm just saying, um travel nursing is not forever. If you're
Mhm.
gonna up your life or lifestyle, you want to make sure that you're backing up that financially outside travel nursing. Okay, because again, the jobs in travel nursing will not be there forever. And like everybody now, like everybody,
Everybody's,
jumped in
yeah,
travel nursing in pandemic, and now the rates are going down, and now they maintain this high level of lifestyle. They're in trouble. So then they bought a lot of things during pandemic, and then eventually have to sell them out again after two
right.
years. And they forgot to pay themselves. They forgot to invest their money to their retirement. So again, that's also one big cons, because it's very tempting. If you have poor self-discipline with money, this might give you in a hole, on a deeper hole. All right.
Yep.
So
So
when you become travel nursing, maintain your lifestyle, save your money, or pay or invest your money, or do something, invest it in a way that it will be sustainable later on. Okay, so that's
right.
my
And for me, the cons, I will be just going through this very, very quickly. For me, the cons are one, and I'll answer some of the questions on the box while going through it. One, you can be terminated anytime, or you can terminate the contract anytime. You're a travel, you're a temporary staff, you're not full time. They can terminate you day two, day three, day 10, week 11, week 13, the day before your end of contract. They can cancel you anytime for many reasons. Maybe they don't like you. Maybe you didn't integrate well with the community. Maybe they think you're not a good nurse. Or maybe they just run out of budget, or they're just forcing you to go in a much lower rate, right? Because it's still all about capitalism and money. You're still a cost for them. So you can be terminated anytime. That's one ugly thing. And people jumped into travel nursing because they heard about Kay making this amount of money. Ooh, I'm going to jump into travel nursing. And they're like, oh my God, I got canceled on the third week. Well, maybe your skills are not at par, because we did warn you to have your skills in check, because they can cancel you anytime. And maybe you don't have a backup plan. So we always have backup plans. We always say, as a travel nurse, a seasoned travel nurse, is while you're on your current contract, you're already looking for the next contract, because that's what travel nursing is. And
absolutely.
you're still talking to the recruiters. Hey, can you run numbers for me? Hey, can you check my recruiters? I've only worked with three good recruiters. The others are not my priority, but I already have like certain criteria for them. If it's ER trauma, if it's this and that, this amount of money, these are what you send to me. Like anything than that, I'm not interested. So they would still text me like, hey, we have a contract. You're right. I was like, I'm on my second week. When is this contract going to start? In 6 weeks. Well, okay, let me evaluate if I want to leave this contract or not. So something like that. So contracts can be terminated. Two, you are literally being hired in areas that need nurses, because many things, maybe they don't have enough nurses there. Maybe nurses are leaving the hospital because ugly culture, ugly co-workers, very difficult patient workload. You are not coming over there to look like a princess. In short, travel nursing can be rough. Majority of my assignments, I've enjoyed it. People were very accepting to me, but I'm a busy bee. I'm a worker. I get things done before I sit down. I think that's just ingrained with me. But some people did not integrate well with travel nursing, maybe because they're there to make friends and not to work. So something like that. You can have ugly coworkers to be rude with you for no reason at all. I've had that people, but I'm 37. I've dealt with people a lot. I've been a teacher. I've worked as an instructor. I've seen thousands of people on a daily in my job before. I know how to filter people for me. Like, you were rude to me, that's totally fine. The good thing is, we're not working side by side, right? You're in a different area there. So we can be casual, we can be be easy with each other, but we don't necessarily need to be friends, because I'm here to work, not to make friends, right? Just as long as you're not screaming at me in front of my patients, I'll draw the line, something like that. But they can just be rude to you because they know how much you're earning. Everything is in Facebook and you're posting about it, and in TikTok, I'm earning 120 an hour. Yeah, so rub it onto their faces. If I'm that nurse, I'll be rude to
I'll
you
be,
as well. I'm
I'll
earning
be
30 an
quiet.
hour. Yeah, yeah. Don't be ethical. These people stay there because they probably couldn't travel. Be nice to them. I bring them donuts. It's Sunday, so I'll do a little preaching. If they, what did they say? If they slap you or whatever, turn the other face, right? If they're rude to me, guys, what do donuts and coffee and some pizza could not fix? I'll bring pizza. I'll offer that person pizza. See, next day, that person's going to be so nice to me. They're rude to me and like, hey, can you help me? I was like, yeah, I'll help you. After you help them, watch out. Tomorrow is going to start helping you. She's going to start helping you. It's all about making them feel that you're not there to compete with their jobs. You're actually there to help. But I mean, people can be ugly, right? And number 3, I mean, homesickness can be real, definitely. So homesickness can be real. So like I have a house in Houston, but I'm in Hawaii and I have to fly every 2 months to check my house. Is my house still okay? Is it burning down? What happened? Right? So something like that, especially if you have family. And I think for me, number 4 is you may end up not really liking it for many reasons. Maybe you don't like the manager. Maybe you don't like the city. Maybe you don't like the hotel that you're going to. So do not get attached. Travel nursing is a temporary job for a reason. It is temporary. You want to stay there permanently, you convert to full time. You don't want it, you exit, go to the next contract. That's how we do it with travel nursing. On my day 1, I'm already planning for my 13th week. Right? What am I gonna do next? If I
Yeah,
get
where's the
5,
vacation, right? I'm looking
yeah.
forward to it.
Yeah, yeah. They're like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm already booking my vacation to Paris after this contract is finished. I was kidding, but the point is, have a backup plan, have an emergency savings plan. We've seen nurses that are canceled from their contracts on 3rd week, and they don't have money to support them in the next 2 weeks while they're waiting for jobs because they didn't have emergency savings. Have an emergency saving 3 to 6 months worth. So if you lose your job, that savings would still pay for your bills and car and everything else. So everything is about financial planning, right? Because you can lose your job anytime. All right, Kay.
All right, we're gonna have to continue the other things that we need to discuss next week. We're gonna wrap up and we're gonna go with the questions that we have. Paul, where was the last question that you have read?
Hold on. I think some of these we've already answered. Marvin asked here. Marvin, hello, Marvin. Please join us in the next
Hi,
show. He's in
Marvin.
Dallas right now. He said, if you think that your assignment is not safe, can you quit? Yes.
Absolutely,
Yes.
but you have to be very objective. For me, I
Yes.
if let's say one instance or situation come to me that is very not safe, no, first I would have to talk with my management on it. If they don't
Yes.
give me a good resolution, then I'm not going to take that assignment yet until I finish writing to my recruitment agency, the recruiter, the HR of that hospital, and I mean the manager of that hospital, the supervisor and director. Okay. So for me, it's not my job to fight. I don't like
That's
fighting.
true.
A lot of
That's
people think
true.
I'm very feisty, but I really prefer not to fight. If we can talk this professionally, let's do it professionally.
Exactly.
And the professional way to do it is not really like, oh, I'm not gonna take that job. Oh, it's not my job like that. Okay. Again, you have to be objective. Look at the policy and procedure of the hospital. Is it in your job description? Okay. Let example being transporter. But they said I'm not a transporter. I'm not being hired for that, right? But it actually is saying there that I need to transport the patient
Nurses
when
can
it's
transport. Yeah.
necessary. So
Uh-huh.
yes, I will have to do. If it's written in that policy and procedure and it's written also in the job description, yes, I will have to do that. Even though it's not
Uh-huh.
commonly done, but if it's in the policy and procedure of the hospital and it's in job description, I will never win on that. Okay. So
Exactly.
there are things that a normal employee whining and there are legit employee concerns. So for me, one time I was told, okay, you're gonna do an ECMO. And I said, ECMO? Where is the patient? Oh, in the NICU. I was like, what? I'm like, are you talking to the right K? Am I the only K in this hospital? Do you want my license to be lost today? Right?
Right. Right. Wow.
Number one, I'm not a cardiac OR nurse. Okay. So for
Right. Right.
So I
Yeah.
said to them, but this is an emergency. Okay, what are you gonna do as an ethical nurse? It's an emergency. You can still do things within your scope, but you need a backup for that. Okay, so what I did was I didn't fight for it. So what I just told my manager, I am going there, but you have to give me a resource person from cardiac person because cardiac
Yeah.
ECMO has to be quick. It's a
Right.
life-saving procedure. The patient needs it. It's an emergency. There's no other free person. I'll do it to help, but I need a resource person.
Yeah.
They're upstairs in NICU because this is not OR. So that is NICU there. I don't know the procedure. Where are the stuff that I'm
Right.
going to take? So
Mm-hmm.
it's putting my license to risk, but at the same time, I mitigated the risk by negotiating with my management. What can you do to compromise too? Because I'm not going to
Right.
compromise my license. You have to do something to cover that in compromise. Okay. So, but
Exactly.
if the answer to me was no, you're not going to get anything, you're going to do by yourself there, that is, I would consider unsafe, and I would write it with my manager and my with my recruitment agency with it in the same email. So again, I was assigned as a charge nurse of a level 1 trauma stroke center,
Ooh.
and I said I'm not hired as a charge nurse because charge nurse is different.
Exactly.
When you're level 1 regional referral center for trauma, cardiac OR, stroke center, I don't know your policy and procedure in running all these
Right.
things. If you want me to do that, I'm okay to do that, but then you will have to orient me. And you
Yeah.
have to revise my whole contract saying there that charge nurse role. Okay? If it's not in my contract, I will not do it because I will be I will make mistakes definitely, and it can cost my job, and I will be fired for doing the wrong mistake that I could have prevented. So what I did
Right.
was I wrote before I took that assignment, I wrote to my, again, my recruitment agency, CC your director or your manager, CC your recruitment director in that email too, in your secret
CC
tab.
Medicare too. I'm just kidding.
Right? So again, and then we resolve it by the corporate. You know, my agency contacted the corporate, and the corporate said agency nurses are not allowed to become charge nurse in that facility. It was written in their policy and procedure in the hospital policy. So then it was resolved. They said no, she cannot be a charge nurse for this facility. So again, you don't have to fight, you just have to refer to the policy and procedure. But again, if it's not safe, like Marvin said, yes, you can quit. And
Yep.
you should create evidences.
But don't quit at the moment because abandonment of duty is real. They can still flag you to the board. So make sure you've covered all bases, like Case said. Get them into writing, document, blind CC your personal emails. If they kick you out of the hospital email system, you have a copy. But the idea is you can quit, but within the legal
Yeah.
within the legal, what do you call that, like legal scope or something, but don't do it
Yeah.
illegally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That you
the
have,
next
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
that you should have follow the policy and procedure for
policy.
dispute resolution.
Yeah.
So it's
Yes.
always there in the policy and procedure. Like Jerry said in the question there, like onboarding, how does onboarding orientation looks like, right? You should know where the policy and procedure is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know for us Filipinos, we're very big with getting promoted and positions and prestige, and that's totally fine. That's not a bad thing. But if they want to make you a charge nurse, just keep in mind that maybe it's not about prestige. Maybe it's not about because they like you. Maybe because you're the only person they know that will say yes. I'd love to say this. I worked in the ER. I've only had to charge one time in my assignment in Chicago, and my main criteria why I accepted that K is because I trust my coworkers. They know what they're gonna do. You know what I mean? If I ever find a nurse that's working sketchily or not at par with the skills, I would never want to be a charge nurse. You know why, Kay? Because if that goes to court, knock on wood, I'm always like that. I'm in the ER, one of the high rates for lawsuits. I always say, someone's gonna sue today, someone's gonna sue today. That's how I pride myself. That way I'm overly cautious and always thinking, if someone gets sued and they said, well, I informed the charge nurse, it's actually in my note. Well, let's use the charge nurse that day. Oh, it's Paul. What did Paul do? He didn't even put a note that, he did something or reassigned a patient, or he already knew that there was a problem with skills mismatch. This nurse is not trained for that. In short, you're also a nurse. You can get dragged into the situation, and I've heard this many times in the ER. The primary nurse made a grave error. The primary nurse got reported to the board for malpractice or got board discipline. The charge nurse as well. because they said the charges could have prevented that. I've worked in the hospital where they have to drag the charge nurse in front of nurses at the time of the shift out along with the other nurse for gross incompetence or whatever. This is this is real life situation. I would never charge unless I know everybody in the unit and I know nobody's acting. I'm sorry for the word stupid, but you cannot be stupid as a nurse because you're gonna kill someone, especially in high acuity areas, ER, OR, ICU, NICU, CVICs. You can't. You just can't. So that's the only time I did charge nurse because I have 8 nurses. I know they're able. I know they can practice independently. If I'm busy trying to stabilize somebody or attending to an issue, I trust that they know what they do. So we have very good communication. But other than that, nope. They're like, can you charge? Nope. Why? 3 nurses there. I don't I don't already trust my friends. So I always tell my students this, that you may be best friends with this nurse, but at work, it's at work. I still don't trust them if they give me a syringe that I didn't see them pull. Something like that. I already don't trust my friends at work. Why would I trust other people? You know what I mean? It's not because I don't trust. It's because I'm very careful with how I practice nursing. My
And you
patient,
should.
my responsibility. So my unit is also my responsibility. So be careful with assignments like that. It's not about prestige. Maybe you're just the only person that they will accept. You're like, oh, this cute nurse, she likes to be charged. We're gonna make her charge.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong if you like it as long as you know the accountability that comes with it.
there is
There is a
accountability.
certain, yes, accountability. If you're just going there without understanding what the accountability is, I recommend you not doing it. There,
Mhm.
it's good for name, for title, but it comes with accountability. Okay.
Right.
Um,
One more question. Okay. Nursing facility. That's my only experience. Do you think I will be a good fit as a travel nurse? For me, it's
uh,
limited opportunity because yeah.
for me, it's not really the years. If a lot of people have come to me, okay, I'm working 5 years already, you think I'm ready. Okay, I'm working for 1 year, I'm not ready. Okay, so this is the biggest thing that you have to understand when you do travel nursing. It's never on the years. Okay. But a lot of staffing company and a lot of hospital would want at least 1 year experience because they need somebody who will have a referral within a 1 year. They need a referral from your manager who you have worked with for the past year. So that is the rationality. I mean, that's the rationality why a lot of staffing companies and hospitals would require at least you have 1 year experience, previous experience before applying for travel nurse position, okay? Because they need that referral system. And also, of course, experience. But even though you have 10 years experience, you might still not be the best pick for travel nursing. And why is that so? It is actually not the years, but it's actually on the skills checklist. Again, I'm going to repeat
Mhm.
that. Your hospital have skills
Competency
checklist.
checklist. Yes.
Correct. And this is
Per
related to,
unit, per department.
yep, and this is related to what
What?
Jerry was
Hi,
mentioning
Jerry.
about what are the skills required, what are the competencies. Okay, so to match your skills competency from your skills checklist. Again, you're gonna fill up a skills checklist with your staffing company, and if that matches the things
Do
that they're
not
doing in the
lie.
hospital, yep, then you are competent for that. Okay, so again,
Yeah.
it's not on the years, skills checklist. So when I started travel nursing, I know my weakness was ENT and ortho. So I
Yes.
pick a hospital that actually does a lot of ortho, but also does a lot of things that I do. But ortho was a portion. So now try to go to those places that I can check off my skills checklist. Okay, next the other one. I want to go to reconstruction, oncology, cancer hospitals, okay? Specialty hospitals because they do a lot of oncology cases that I don't do. So if I go there, I can check off my skills checklist, okay? Within 2 years, I have checked off almost all this checklist in the operating room. Mind you, OR skills checklist is the longest of all checklists. I'm not sure
Right.
how many pages do you guys, Paul, have in the ER? How
We
many?
we have a lot too because all system, all competencies, we have a lot too. It's actually very cumbersome to answer competency checklists, but hey, it's important. That's
Yeah,
setting what you can do and what you cannot. So, like I said, during one of my travel assignment, they were making me do something. Okay, I said, let's open my competency checklist. Is it there? It's not. So I'm not allowed to do that until I'm trained, which I don't have to be trained right now because it needs check off and all that. So
it is. And for us, like for operating room nurses, our
I
skills
think
checklist can be more than 10 pages.
for sure. Not
Yeah.
that much for a year. Probably 7 or 8.
Yeah, a lot of, oh my God, Paul, the skills checklist. The future or your potential employer is looking for.
Did we lose Kay or did I lose myself? Kay?
Hello,
Uh,
can you? Terry said you
yeah,
can
yeah,
hear
yeah,
me.
there you go. Yeah, I thought it was me. I was refreshing my thing too.
All right. Oh, there you go. Can you hear me now, right? So
Yes,
again,
yes.
if you feel like you're still like Michael said, my only experience is rehab facility, right? Oh, no audio. Okay, let me fix.
Yeah.
All right.
While Kay is fixing it, what I want to
Much better.
tell everybody is stick to your skills. Like I said, they want you to work day one as a travel nurse. If you're not confident, don't do it. If your skill is, for example, med surge and the offer is ICU, it all boils down to competency checklist. Competency checklist is an additional form that we use here in the US. This is especially true for international graduates or probably for new travelers, right? Competency checklist is what we use to verify what you can do as a nurse, what your skills are. You actually score it from not competent, some competency, and very competent. So, how many times you do it in a week or in a month, and how competent are you? So, it all boils down to the scope. That's your scope. So, if you say you're competent to one thing and you actually go to work and they make you do it, and you make a mistake, they check your competency checklist, and it says there you said you're competent. Yeah, we can hear you now. Okay, um,
Yay.
it means you're
There you go.
competent, which means they're gonna hold you accountable. All right. So
Yes.
if, for example, you're doing rehab facility and suddenly you're applying for medical surgical nursing, your competencies may not match because with med search you probably have to do some feedings using hospital system that may be different to your rehab facility. So check the competency checklist required for the job. It's not only the job description, the competency checklist. This will be your template to what you can do, what you cannot do, what you should be doing, and what you should not be doing. Like for my example before, I worked in one hospital here in Houston. They were making me do A lines, right? Now, could I learn it? I'm a fast learner. Of course I could. We're Filipino nurses. We can learn everything. I was kidding. The point is, can I learn it? Of course. Do I have to learn it at that time? I didn't. I didn't have to. I didn't have time to learn it. So it all boils down to my charge nurse telling me, we will train you right now. I said, it's not part of my competency checklist, right? Let's check the checklist. There's no A-line management there. I didn't sign up for that. They're like, okay, we're going to train you. So I looked up their policy and it says you have to be trained. You have to be checked off 4 times before you can manage A-line by yourself. You literally want to give me a patient with A-line today, but I need 4 times of, 4 checks check off. We need 4 patients supervised by another nurse. That's check off. In short, I contested it and said I'm not trained for it. It's not in my competency checklist. That's gonna be malpractice for me. And they listened, they understood. So the charge nurse ended up having to take the patient until I was ready, And another time was the we were full in CVICU, and CVICU nurses can be brutal. I mean, you've heard jokes about ER versus CVICU all the time. They feel like they are the best nurses, but
I love
guys,
my
respect.
CVICU nurses. I'm
I
gonna
know,
share them
but
here.
RESPECT, respect. All right. I respect my ER, my ICU, my OR nurses. All of us are in different fields. Nobody's greater than the other because you could do something that I could not do. I could do something that you could not do. In short, the doctor, the cardiac fellow, of course, he's a fellow. He's very aggressive in medicine. He wants to learn as well. Wants to do cath lab and treat that myocardial non-STEMI stuff that he thinks there's a clot. Of course, I believe that. In the bedside, inside my ER room, on my very high acuity patient that I'm doing one to one because he's so high acuity he can die any minute. It's one to one at that point. It's CVIC case. Basically, I'm holding the patient. I told my charge nurse I'm not confident with that because um, I'm not trained for it. And the doctor is like, it's okay. I'm gonna teach you. I was like, no, I'm an ER nurse. I'm trained to do CPR, perhaps if this patient codes, ACLS, but I cannot manage a post cath lab patient because I've never had a cath lab patient. It all boiled down again to my competency checklist, and I was able to persuade my charge nurse, and I got the director involved. I went to the director's office, come here to the bedside. I was like, "You're an ER nurse for a long time. Did you do cath lab? Have you done cath lab in the ER?" She said, "No." I was like, "They were making me do cath lab. You can fire me right now. I'm a travel nurse. I'm ready to pack my stuff, but I'm not doing it for malpractice issues. I am not trained to do it." Well, 5 minutes later, CVIC is calling. I'm ready for a report. And he was cussing at me. "You're so nasty. You don't want to take care of patient." I was like, well, the good thing is the patient is going to the appropriate level of care and will be taken by the appropriate nurse, which is you. See, you have a bed. You just don't want to take the patient. That's what I'm saying. All right. Anyway, cut it short. We can see the beds in the ER, by the way. As ER nurses, we can see all the beds and all the nurses who are not taking care of patients. We're ER nurses. We can see who's not taking care of patients and they have available beds.
Yeah, but thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that, Paul. Very important thing information here that you have to know is travel nursing is not like a walk in the park. There's a
It
lot of
is not.
cons. There's a lot of challenges that you will have to go through, but the most
Mm-hmm.
important thing of it is you are learning and you are growing.
Mm-hmm.
So if there is a place where exponential growth will come and happen, I think that's where travel nursing will happen. Is there's exponential growth personally because you will meet a lot of different personalities in the world.
Exactly.
Not only Americans but also international nurses that you will meet, different cultures, different race, different ways of doing things. Clinically you will be also exposed to different clinical strategies and different ways of doing things. And and you don't go to one place saying that I know everything. You always have to come in with your empty cup,
Mm-hmm.
and always keep that in mind, have that learning attitude. So there's so many things that we can discuss. We're gonna continue our travel nurse information next week. We're gonna
Next
give
week, yes.
or strategies that you can use to be successful. I know there's a lot more questions in here, but
Join us next week.
join us next week. But I want to honor our viewers right now. Maria Christina said, "Are there still a lot of contract opportunities even after the pandemic?" Absolutely, Christina. There's a lot of opportunities for those specialties that have more need, like let's say med surge, ER, ICU. There's still a lot. So the best way to do is go to Indeed or job posting sites and look at and assess the market. You always have to assess the market job for you. Okay. Jerry said, "Oh, I will be in Chicago tomorrow for a
I
conference."
love this.
Yeah. So that one.
I'm
Donovan,
not in Chicago, Jerry. I just said it's my favorite city. But this one right here, okay.
yeah. Are you work and achieve goals with travel nursing? Please include impacting positive patient outcome in everything.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Very important thing.
Very important.
Yes,
This right here.
when I became a travel nurse, all I did was my goal was to improve my clinical skills because
Mm-hmm.
my patients deserve that.
Mm-hmm.
My patients, I owe my patients my knowledge and my wisdom. They
Mm-hmm.
entrust their life to me. They entrust their whole decision to me, quite right, because they trust me that I will provide very competent care. And in exchange for that trust is I'm gonna make sure that my patients will be given the best care because I'm
Right.
a competent and I invested in my knowledge and my wisdom. So again, whatever I gained knowledge, I owe that to my patients because they trusted me. When
That
they
is
see that
correct.
RN license in my name, it
They
means
trust you.
that I they trust me. Okay, so
Right.
always have that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
You owe
To your
that
patient.
wisdom and knowledge to your patients. Yeah.
That is correct. Always, always advocate for your patients. No matter where you go, no matter what you do as a travel nurse, your patients are there because they need you. For the most part, they need you, whether you're ERO or whatever department. So please advocate for your patients. You're not only advocating for yourself, so you're not only there to collect your paycheck, you're there because of them, right? Without them, we're not going to have jobs. Without them, we're not going to improve our skills. Without them, we're not going to continuously evolve our skills, right? So that's my key takeaway for this for today. And I guess next week is episode 27, how to become a successful travel nurse, and we need to go have a class too. Okay.
Yay! This is going to be a very interesting thing because you can be travel nurse, but can you be a successful travel nurse? Can you be advancing to where you want to be? Are you being stagnant there? Is it travel nursing working out for you? Again, so not all travel nursing, I mean, not all nurses who jump in travel nurse were successful. A lot of them
Uh-huh.
not make it to the end. Uh, Here we're gonna
Unfortunately.
yes, we're gonna teach you on how to be successful in it. Because again, every strategy, everything that you see outside in the social media, it works best for some people. Only if they did their proper research. Okay. Thank you so much.
Dawn, look at my YouTube channel and YouTube at Dr. Nurse Paul. She said this is the first time I've watched it. We did 27 episodes, and there's so much more waiting for you guys. Watch all those previous episodes. So much learning. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, everyone. We love you so much. Thanks for supporting DNP Unlocked. We'll see you next week, every Sunday, 8 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. DNP Unlocked. Bye.
Bye.